Yes, go ahead.
So, Peter Rowland, this letter is dated November 7th, 2018, which is almost 6 months ago. Do we need any additional update, or do we think this, once we receive a letter like this in today's environment, is that really confirming that they have the funds available, or since it's the new administration, should we
Get any further confirmations? I mean, I'm prepared to go ahead, but I think just following up to make sure that this administration is honoring what the previous one sent to us probably wouldn't hurt.
I hate to ask the question.
I'm sorry?
I mean, you're asking, will the current administration renege on the deal?
Well, it's November 7th letter. It's almost 6 months old. I mean, again, I just want to make sure that they really, I mean, obviously, 6 months ago,
I would suggest we don't do that.
really.
I mean, you're asking for a confirmation of the confirmation, which seems a little insecure or something, and I'd hate to ask them the question, make them feel like it's an option, let's take another look at it. We have a letter. I mean, usually these things don't flow of, get the confirmation, we'll do the work in 2 days, and the third day send us the check. It isn't usually how they go.
Right.
These are pieces of work that take a while to do, so I just don't think a 6-month-old letter is that old. I just take it on face value. That would be my
Well, since we've
suggestion.
now put this on is this being televised?
Yes?
I think it is, yeah.
Oh, so it's being televised. Shows that you're much more confident than I am.
Much more.
Confident than I am.
Anyway, I think, so we can, we'll be asked to vote on this, make a recommendation to the full BET,
Right.
so there's a few days to ask the question offline to see how confident DPW are that the commitment is in place. Maybe we stop it at DPW's assessment
Fine.
rather than call Hartford.
Sounds good to me.
Or even, since it's the first selectman, DPW, Ben Branyan kind of thing.
So-
Both
Since,
on vacation.
oh, they're both on vacation. Well,
I've been trying to Jim Michaels is here.
but we don't meet until next Monday, but, I'm prepared to release this, but I think it would just be nice to do that. Then I have one more question. And that is, which is really kind of nice. I believe this letter says it's for total funding commitment of $1,080,000, but we only appropriated $1 million. So I guess we should just be careful that once our $1 million comes in, that we don't. And I think our release is even less than the $1 million. So we just have to be careful. Our release is for $980,000, and we appropriated $1 million, and this letter is for $1,020,000. So just as long as we are tracking this.
The uncommitted amount from the budget is $981,200, is the amount of funding. We appropriated $1 million, but we spent a little bit in the prior year, a little bit in the current year. So the balance remaining is $981,200.
Well, that's fine, but, again, I just point out that we are in actually circumstances where our reimbursement is actually more than we appropriated, so just as long as we're tracking this, we're fine.
Okay.
I have no other
Yeah,
points.
Just to clarify, the condition back in 2015 was on a full $1 million. They're asking for a release of $980,000, which means they're not getting access to $20,000 remaining into the account. I'm not sure that they shouldn't be asking for $1 million.
Well, I think that what Jeff's just told us is they've already spent some money. They didn't get released.
And they may have gotten a release. We're not remembering.
That's true.
A small release.
This was a long time ago.
The fiscal
Fiscal
year
15.
2015.
Yeah. So I believe this
So
is,
maybe between now and Monday, Roland or Pete, we can work out what they've spent. Has a BET already released any of these funds? And could it confirm that the $1 million or $980,000 is the proper amount?
well, I mean, I would suggest that even if they have less than $1 million left, if they've already spent some of it, that we probably should be releasing the whole.
The
amount
full
rather
$1 million,
than
I would-
980,
I would
and that
think
we'll
so.
need a new sheet, but Roland and Pete will leave that. For them to find out.
Yes. I did catch that too. And it would be helpful to put the actual condition. Right, I had to go through several budgets to find which year we appropriated this money.
Good for you, because I gave up and I contacted Roland. I went back a couple and I thought, gee, this is a ways back.
Well, your list of the capital items on which we have balance was my source. I went back and found
Oh,
it,
that would
and
be-
then-
that would
and
be
then
another
and-
source.
And it told me, that it was
It tells you what year.
2015,
Yeah, there are lots of ways to find the information. Call Roland, check the
Yeah.
capital appropriations, or open old
Yeah,
budget
The preferred
books.
method is call Roland.
No, I think he'd prefer the other two first, to be honest.
Yeah.
But all right, so can I have a motion to recommend approval of the release of conditions?
So moved.
And I second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passed 3-0. Okay, we'll go back to the first item on our agenda, ED 17. It is Board of Ed request for a transfer of $11,176 to fund the prior year expenditure line in their budget. As it's been explained to me, as in the documentation, we see that they have been submitted documentations for expenditures that were incurred in fiscal 18. And they had in their fiscal 19 budget, had a prior year expenditure amount as part of that budget. However, within the past month or so, they've closed out that account, but before they knew that this was coming. So now that they have this expenditure for prior year funding, they want to do a transfer of $11,176 to fund that budget line to be able to appropriately account for this this reimbursement. Can I have a motion to approve the transfer?
Can I just ask a question first? Do you know, is this for special education, is this item that we're reimbursing
Yeah.
someone, is this a special education item? It doesn't really say on here.
They said it was.
It doesn't say it, I'm asking,
Oh.
Leslie knows so much about all this.
I don't know anything other than what's written on here. You have to say, you'd have to believe, or I would believe that the description of medical consultant would make me think that is a special education.
Right.
I think
That's what made me think it was special ed.
in most cases, right, parents aren't expecting that. So I believe that's the case, but it's not really,
So this is only, we do this all by ourselves, this doesn't go anyplace, correct?
correct.
So even though I will say in advance that I intend to approve this, can you just confirm, Roland, that this is really special education? Well, it sort of does, it does there, but,
Take a look at the attachment, the left-hand column.
right, I
Andy.
saw that,
Yeah.
I saw that special ed there, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I
So-
think you
so-
can be pretty sure it is
So
a
I read
special
this a little
education.
differently. When you read the attachment, I had the impression that the parent incurred the expenditure in fiscal year 17-18. And then because it says on March 28th, 2019, it says that the parent recently submitted the reimbursement documentation. I didn't think that this was an item that was intended, that we had budgeted out of last year to pay. I had the impression that the parent incurred it in fiscal year 18, but presented it to us in fiscal year 19.
That's my assumption as well.
Okay.
In our fiscal 19 budget, we do have a line, prior year expenditures, so that they do, well, let Roland explain.
It does say that.
So they might have been aware that the bill was coming, but it didn't actually
Okay,
arrive.
I like my spin better, it's less complicated. Okay.
In
Yeah.
either case, they need to fund it. It's appropriate that it comes out of prior year expenditure. So I would be inclined to support this transfer.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I'm inclined to support it also. Are we?
Yes, can I have a motion to?
Aye. Oh, the motion was made. I second.
It was, okay,
You made the motion, I thought.
Okay, so
Okay, I make the motion, how's that?
doesn't matter. Okay. Any
So
further?
this is
Any
Jeff
fur-
made it and Leslie seconded? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, which Leslie?
I heard Leslie Moriarty.
That's fine. So any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
3-0. And then the next item is also a Board of Education transfer, and as pointed out, the BED has delegated the authority to the Budget Committee to approve these transfers. This is for $27,160. This is to cover a change, really a change in use. They are moving available funds for staff development in the current year that is not going to be used as anticipated, to use it for staff development that they want to do in June. And thus, money is coming out of 131 substitutes, 209 professional learning, 210 professional development, 236 rental maintenance software, and to put it into 139 other salaries and 311 textbooks.
So I must say that I did get very confused by these exhibits with number 2, 3, and 4. So maybe I had a comment that I needed to make on the previous one, which I didn't.
Okay.
So, we're now up to ED 18, and many of these are on special ed. And we had talked at one point in time about getting a better understanding of special ed and why we're having all of these increases, and maybe having a session, perhaps even an executive session with the Board of Education, because we know that there's litigation issues and so forth here that maybe these things relate to. But I think we need to know why we're having so many of these requests. And we can't ask anyone here today, will we have more? We still have May and June before year end. So I would like, if possible, perhaps we've talked about this in the past. Maybe we talked about it a little bit for the actual next year budget days, but we didn't really get into this detail. Maybe it would be appropriate to ask them next month to come. Maybe we'll have more of these. Maybe we'll have 19 and 20 or something, but to give us a better feel for what's happening here.
I think what I'd like to do is, one, to have a better understanding of what kinds of questions that we have. So maybe to talk with you offline about what the scope of that conversation would be.
Right.
In May, as I may have indicated, Joe Siciliano is coming. We're going to have a discussion on the ferry, on the approach with ferry boats and those replacements, and that'll be about an hour discussion, so I wouldn't want to add it to the same meeting. But
Maybe in June.
when we talk about the transfers to the Board of Ed, it's interesting. I think we're seeing a different philosophy a little bit of how to run the financial affairs with the new COO from the old COO. I know that she is attempting to keep these books as clean as possible, which is why you see as many transfers. As we're all aware, the budget is prepared a year before they have to start spending the money, a year and a half since many of the expenses come. And she's showing us a detail of what she shows her board, and it goes into a lot of transfers by location code and programs, a lot of detail which hadn't really come to the front before, and she's trying to keep the books very clean. I do know, I agree with you, that they've had a special issue this year with special education. They've had many more transfers this year than they've had before. So the situation is different. How they're approaching it are good questions. We asked about that in the budget process a little bit as well. So why don't you and I talk a little bit about what we would need or want to accomplish and the best way to do that?
I don't think it needs to be a long session. It could be June, too, but just to get a handle before we start the next fiscal year in terms of what's happening.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to
So
talk with
Ralph
you. And
Mayo
I'm
had
sure-
a conversation with
I'm
us on
sure,
it.
can I just finish
Sure.
my sentence? We'll see if Mike has any questions too, since he's,
Right.
unfortunately has a,
Mr.
waiver
Raymer.
service, that he is attending this afternoon that was not planned.
Mr. Raymer.
No, just that Ralph Mayo had a conversation with us during the budget process. I'm fine with having another conversation. I think they really shared with us about as much as really can be shared, but I think there's no great harm in having a further conversation. It cannot be in executive session unless you're discussing a particular filed piece of litigation, a claim made. You can't, in executive session, discuss things that are merely the source of lots of claims.
So you can't discuss multiple litigations that are causing these increases and so forth? I think, I think that we could, we can talk offline about this too,
You can
but,
discuss the facts of the particular cases and reaching a decision about what to do about those particular cases. If you're talking about policy things, about how to handle what's going on at the cost of special ed and the like, that can't be executive session.
no, I mean, I understand that. I do think, we don't really, Leslie and I have talked a little bit about this offline. I don't think we know enough in some cases to know what part of it would be offline and what part would be online. But somehow we need to frame it so that we can get a better understanding of what's happening here, Jeff, because if you compare this year with last year or all the other years that we've been here, we haven't had this constant, again and again. So what is it that's caused this change? Is it that they've changed their policies? Maybe they have different people or they're executing this different. I don't know exactly what questions to ask because I don't know enough.
Yeah, I
about
mean,
it.
we did hear some of the explanation during the budget hearings, right? So they're
But I
saying that
didn't-
there are
I
more
don't think
cases,
that
but,
covered the kind of detail that we
Yeah.
had talked about, maybe doing
okay.
something.
Can I have a vote on transfer ED 18 of $27,160?
And I'll second that.
I'm sorry, I thought we were voting.
I'm sorry?
Yeah,
I guess we
yeah,
didn't
sorry.
have the
Oh, did we?
I
motion.
misunderstood.
All right, so now let's take the vote. 3-0. Okay, thank you. All right, we had no old business on the agenda, no new business. The next are approval of minutes. We have 8 sets of minutes that have been circulated. I would say that, do we want to take a motion individually, or are we okay to go there? So,
I know,
I was going to propose that we take up and vote on here today, days 1, 2, and 3, as well as the regular meeting on March 19th. And I thought that days 4, 5, 6, and 7 were, it looked to me that there were still ones in which various members were circulating requested changes. I wasn't sure they were quite ready to vote on.
I think they're all in. I would love to be able to vote on all of these today, unless some of my members don't feel comfortable. Then we will post
I will,
them in their current
I will
status.
defer to my chair.
I think
Yeah.
they were circulated recently,
I
so
don't
I
have
understand
any-
that
I don't
people
have any
may not
further
have had a lot of time. So why don't we vote on the budget committee, the February budget meetings, days 1 through 7, in one motion, and then we can vote on March, our last month's meeting separately.
Sounds fine.
so,
I would move days 1 through 7.
and I'll second that.
Any discussion? So we're going to approve the minutes. It's days 1 through 7 of our budget meetings. The meeting dates are February 4th, February 6th, February 8th, February 11, February 20, February 22, and February 25. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then if I can have a motion to approve the minutes for the March 19th Budget Committee, the regular meeting of the Budget Committee.
So
Sure.
move.
Second.
Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0.
Yep.
And if I can have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
aye.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Aye.
All right. 3:28. All right, thank you.